yeah. Sorry, I had too many things going on here. We're live. We'll do it live, damn it. I was rocking out to the music, looking at chat, enjoying myself. Forgot that I had closed down my Zoom window, so I couldn't see Tyler giving us the hand signals. He was trying to do semaphore. He was looking for carrier pigeons. We were about to have some trouble there. But we are here for MLB Live Before Lock. We have 6 games. Following us at 7 will be NBA Live Before Lock for the 2-game slate. I am joined today by one Anthony Gundacker, and we are brought to you by Awesemo Odds Shopper. Best place you can find to shop your odds. What does that mean? It means going in and looking at different lines, different sports books, and finding the best edge for you. That just comes purely out of your profit margin or your losing margin, shall we say. But if you can save yourself 3, 4, 5% when you're only having an ROI of 4, 5, 6%, that's a big number. So definitely check out Odd Shopper. Everything on there is free. It's the Awesemo sister site. Gundacker, how are you doing today, my friend?
It's a good time. I'm just, as a Yankee fan, we're just really happy, and today I'm happy. I already got my Yankee win out the way, so now we get to watch baseball featuring some an incredible conglomerate of options, including Scott Kazmir, who I think he pitched when you were a kid, and a couple of the dart throw options. So pitching is going to be incredibly fun to wait around.
It is definitely going to be something else. We're just going to wait a moment or two here. We've got the social media going out. We've got the tweets and everything. I see a couple people asking, is this going to be the Live Before Lock show? It is indeed the Live Before Lock. So we're having a good time here. Let me retweet this stuff, and we will jump on in and get started here. Please do hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. We're cresting towards 55,000 subscribers. That'll be a nice little milestone, a feather in our cap. We could not be here doing this if it were not for you. And we appreciate all of you, especially since you help us continue to provide free shows and content. All righty here. No weather of any concern here. If you are following along, I think that Kansas City game just tipped off. We've got basketball on the brain. Did the basketball article, baseball article. It's my second baseball show, and somehow I'm defaulting to basketball still. But we've got that Kansas City game is starting. Once they get started, there should not be any other issues for rain there. Top of our mind, I do want to mention we do have a couple free items here. These are normally premium content, but we try to put 1 or 2 things in front of the paywall each day. Today we've got the NBA main slate ownership. Now we do have 2 games on the night slate, but it'll tell you proportionally and directionally correct of where things are going to land with that. We have the MLB top pitchers tool. We'll be talking about that tonight. And then the NHL still has another 2-game slate going on. We've got the player stacks and rankings for that. And then you can catch everything but our Live Before Lock shows on the Awesemo Podcast Network. First game, I'm going to turn this one over to you. We've got Nate Eovaldi going into Philadelphia, taking on the Phillies. You have Spencer Howard on the other side. It's been a bit of a rough go for Howard. The pandemic shortened season last year had him skipping AAA. He only had 30 or so pitches or innings pitched in AA the season prior. Decent strikeout stuff, but it has been on-the-job training, and he has been getting crushed a little bit. He made 3 appearances out of the bullpen this year, and he was back down in AAA he made 3 starts so he could get stretched out. I'm expecting somewhere between 65 and 70 pitches from him today. Take it away, Gundacker.
Yeah, so this is Exhibit A when it comes to average at best pitching. Maybe Nathan Eovaldi introduces himself into the conversation, taking an AL team, losing the DH up against the Phillies. Phillies down JT Realmuto lineup, not looking like the big Phillies lineup, but still has some scary bats. Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins right there in the thick of things. Eovaldi usually on a slate that would give me good alternatives. Not somebody I probably look at. But because this slate seems really, really shallow when it comes to viable, stressed out pitchers with potential to go 5-6 innings, maybe scoop a win, I think Eovaldi is in consideration. His ERA a little bit higher than his Sierra and xFIP. Sierra at 3.69 on the year, xFIP 3.5, and the swing and strike rate at 12%. pretty respectable, modest numbers for a guy that we just want to chip in a chair for 6 innings and maybe get the win. Yeah, there's some scary bats on the Philly side. If he can get through a Bryce Harper or something like that, maybe he lives and can give us 15 to 20 fantasy points. So begrudgingly, I will have some Eovaldi in the player pool. Spencer Howard is like you said, a little bit of an unknown based on what we might get. His swing and strike rate from his short sample size is elite, but we don't have enough to say what he really is. So we kind of look back towards what he did in the big leagues last year, which is just a tad under 10% swing and strike rate. 4K, we're probably not going to get enough bullets to expect him to be the optimal pitcher more often than not. It's a red hot Red Sox lineup, really strong lineup right there at the top. I love JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts. Bobby Dalbec is moving his way up in the lineup. So I probably don't play Spencer Howard. I probably do have some Eovaldi. Definitely can justify some Red Sox stacks. They're one of my top 3 stacks, I think, at the moment. And then I don't have Philly stacks, but it might just be more so because I'm getting to some Eovaldi. So my Philly stacks might just be more so hedging against some of that. I think it's going to be one of those nights, EMac, where I'm hedging against every pitcher I have. It's just ugly.
And that absolutely makes sense. With just 12 teams in the player pool, it's a little bit smaller of a Saturday night main slate. Usually we see closer to 8, 9, maybe even 10 on some of these nights, but they're taking advantage of the pleasant weather and going with some of these earlier games. So that's one of the things that's interesting about baseball. You definitely can go against your players. You just want to construct your lineups appropriately. But because it's an event-based sport, everything is coming down to outcomes, and the outcomes are highly variable because, there's going to be probably in the average game somewhere around 35 or 40 total plate appearances. Pitchers are going to go 9 innings amongst several pitchers. There's just not that many opportunities, and you want to take advantage or consolidate and corral those stats where you can. So there's nothing wrong with hedging in this sport because it's different than any other sport. Football, kind of hard to hedge. You go a different direction than the masses, and you get contrarian. Same thing with basketball. But with baseball, you can actually go toe-to-toe with the plays you like the best and just take a smaller proportion and go the opposite side. You're definitely not looking to see your name in lights a lot of times in these situations, but you can recover from a poor outing and recoup some of your entry fees, which just, staying alive long enough to play another slate is always worthwhile here in daily fantasy sports. Looking here, I see that Alex Verdugo out of the lineup, and I did not realize he was with the team. Danny Santana is now with the Red Sox. Bobby Dalbec is moving up through the order. He's promoted up to the 6th hole tonight. You've got Franchi Cordero in there. Always a chance if a lefty comes in from the bullpen, he gets pinch hit for with Hunter Renfroe. But the Boston actually has some options, and that's aided a lot by JD Martinez still being able to play the field. He still plays a fair number of the games in the National League parks as one of the corner outfielders. So it's not one of those situations where you've got a DH only guy. He still does take the field from time to time. Even last year when they had the universal DH, I think he still ended up playing 7 or 8 games in the outfield. So in that 60-game season. Anything else you want to discuss from this side? I know we've got some meatier topics coming up.
Yeah, I mean, so if those Awesemo Plus users, the Boston Red Sox have a 14% chance to be in the top stack, and ownership share at 9.4%. Great leverage opportunity here if you agree that the Red Sox could be, one of the top 2 scoring teams on the slate. Go out there and fire them up. And it looks like you don't have to do a whole lot to be over the field, and it's rare that we have an opportunity at that kind of leverage, meaning a team this likely to be the best stack is not the highest owned stack, and more so you can even leverage it with being under 20%.
All right. Good points there for sure. Moving on to our next one here. This is kind of an interesting one. We have Walker Buehler. So I wanted to take a moment here and talk a little bit about the Awesemo Odd Shopper. I mentioned that at the top of the show. I'm going to drop this link into the YouTube chat. But his prop line is actually a decent example of what we mean by doing some odd shopping. So if you guys, you can follow along, open that link, maybe maybe Tyler will throw that up on the screen, but you can come over here and you can see that we have a whole bunch of different sports books, and we're comparing the different player odds against them. If we look at Walker Buehler, we can see that one of the sports books has the over under at 6.5, the others have it at 7.5, and those have bounced a little bit. But what they do is they run the juice, as they call it, on one side or the other. So if you feel like he is going to get the over, you're better off at playing on one of the sites where you're betting 100 to get 105 or 108. But you're going for 7.5. If you want a better odds of him getting above 6.5, you're going to have to pay for it. That's where you're betting 133 to get 100. So that's what we mean by shopping the odds. So if you feel real confident, you're like, I think he's going to get 7.5, 8, maybe even 9 strikeouts in this one, I definitely want the over. You want to take what is most advantageous to you. Same thing if you think he's going to get the under, then if you think he's going to have a poor performance, you definitely want to look at the book where you're paying 100 to get 100 as opposed to paying 136 to get 100. So that's what we mean by shopping odds. And this is very helpful. You get all the player props here, have it by all the sports. And even if you're not in a state that has legal sports wagering at the moment, these are still helpful for DFS. A lot of people like to make their own projections, or especially for baseball, kind of see where the player props are. It gives you an idea for pitchers, how many innings they'll probably go. You can sort of math your way back into that based on their strikeout rates, based on the teams that they're going. And that's always one of the tougher things, is to figure out how many batters a pitcher is going to face, and that converts to innings, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of fun there. If we had daily fantasy sports when I was in high school and college, math would have been a lot more fun than because life is one big story problem. You learn that once you get out of school. But man, if we had this to talk about in school, I would have been a really good math student. But anyway, that is Walker Buehler. He's going to be one of our top pitchers of the night. And then on the other side, Scott Casper. Scott Casper has tickets to the game. How did he get tickets to the game, Gundacker? He is back. He has not pitched in 4 years. He's been out of the majors. It's 19 years since he was drafted in the first round. 4 years since he's last pitched. He's had an up and down career, pitched in the World Series and gotten bounced to outright release from a couple different teams. He's one of those, every year you hear about a player here or there that gets an invite to spring training, that hasn't pitched in a while. They finally, their arm's healed or whatever. They think they've got it. They've been helping out the local high school or whatever, and all of a sudden they think they're going, and then rarely do they make it. He's actually made it up to the majors, which is an accomplishment. Take it over from here. It is a 4:00 start in San Francisco today, so it's not a night game.
Yeah, so I think that's probably one of the more important things to know. It's not like these California coast parks that tend to suffer from like marine layers when it gets a little too late. You're not going to deal with that to an extreme, but we really don't know what to expect from Scott Casper. Hasn't pitched in the big since 2015, 2016 with the Dodgers.
It was 2017, but yeah, point taken. Taken.
According to FanGraphs, just the 2016 season, he had a 4.56 ERA, a 3.43 walk per nine. And it's like, what am I even looking? I can't talk about how a guy did 5 years ago. So it's such an unknown what we're dealing with. So I think I would probably project him to be a sub-average contact lefty at this stage with no velo. Like, I can't expect a 37-year-old to show up after 5 years with some velocity. So because of that, I'm just going to take my chances on some of these Dodgers against left-handed pitching. This lineup is a lot different than you might be accustomed to. The Dodgers lineup, that is, leading off Chris Taylor, Justin Turner, Albert Pujols cleaning up at 2K, bare bones min. Like, there's a couple ways to go here if you want to trust that Casper is, an average at best lefty. I will say 5 through 9, the bottom does fall out against a left-handed pitcher. I want to, buy into the dream or the comeback or whatever, but I probably don't play Casper here. I'll have some of these Dodgers bats. I don't have the Dodgers as one of my drop of football score stacked right now, but I will have 1 through 4 in the lineup pretty pretty handily. On the Giants side, last night, Trevor Bauer able to carve him up. Walker Buehler, easily the best pure pitcher on this slate. Option wise, he's 11K on DraftKings, 10.5 on FanDuel. This a value is subjective spot. If Buehler drops 24, and that's the most fantasy points out of a pitcher on DraftKings, he's probably the guy that you want at the end of the day. Is stretched out. Sierra xFIP just fine. Swing and strike rate 12.6%. So there was a lot of worry about his numbers last year, but it looks like his numbers this year are looking a lot more like 2019, 2018 Walker Buehler. So I'm going to go fire up some Buehler. Does strike out lefties a little less than his numbers against righties, but it's still at 24% on this slate. I'll take my chances. So Buehler going to be my top owned pitcher, and it's not like it's like if this was a normal slate with options, he probably wouldn't be the top owned guy for me, but he's easily the best option out of when you click that player pitcher tab on DraftKings. Like, he's easily the best pure pitcher. So I'm just going to bet on his talent here. And if I wanted to exploit a leak or two with some contrarian Giants, I'd probably take a power lefty, maybe a Stremski Belt. One of those guys gets into one. But give me Buehler, no Casper, and a lot of the top four of the Dodgers.
Yeah, and this is the wild one. If you haven't been paying attention, you're going to say, oh, Casper's back pitching. Oh, I don't remember where he's been, but wow, look at that low Dodgers total. It's not the case. It's because, you know, they Cody Bellinger on the injured list, AJ Pollock on the injured list, Corey Seager fractured his right hand, he's on the injured list. Mookie Betts not playing tonight. This is a Sunday lineup the day before Sunday, or maybe perhaps a postseason clinching lineup. This is an odd one coming from who is one of the front running teams in the league. So a lot to look at with this one. Just say, what the heck? On that. Anything else you want to wring out of this game other than the many chuckles that we'll have?
Yeah, I mean, this might be this might stun us when Casper comes out here and I thought there's a couple 4K pitchers on the slate. And I was thinking, you know, what would it take on this slate for a 4K pitcher to be an optimal play? And it's probably a guy that can get to 15. I don't think Casper is going to be the guy I gamble on to do that, but we do have a couple of spots tonight where there's some sub 7K openers that maybe you would think about. Would you take 10 plus DKP on a slate like this and hope for the best? But I just, there's no reason for me. There's nothing to go off of, and I like to, you know, substantiate my claims and my selections here, and I just got nothing for Casper to justify him against the Dodgers.
What do you think he can complete the third inning?
So I'm gonna pull up his minor league game log.
I'm trying to get there, but my computer's not cooperating.
So, and he pitched on the 15th, and he went 3.1 innings. So he's had two appearances, May 9th and May 15th, 3 and 3.1 innings in both games. He allowed 2 hits and a walk. So his whip is actually been under 1. But we're talking, you know, the minors, not the Dodgers, and he only allowed 1 bomb. 3 strikeouts in the first game, 2 strikeouts in the second. So, like, maybe he's gonna stun us. But I can't get there. But yeah, 3 innings.
Is more just what is our expectations of the, hey, it's cheap. It's a guy who had strikeout upside, was a good pitcher a long time ago. But this is just the kind of the cautionary tale of, I don't think you want to go there. Even even if he was magnificent, he still has a 0.1% chance of being a top 2 pitcher on DraftKings. You would need things to go seriously wrong for these other players, and there's just not really the bats to spend up for. If Coors Field was on the slate, or we had some really pricey batters, that might be a time to do this. And we will have slate where we talk about openers like this. Just tread lightly with Casper.
Yeah, I'm not touching him. I can't do it.
All righty, let's check on our next game here. We've got Chicago at St. Louis. Adbert Alzolay going against Miles Mikolas. And I always say his name silly because it makes me laugh, sort of like the Ricola cough drops. But in any event, this one I was saying on the show I did earlier with Terry today, I said this is sort of I'll take whatever I get from this game. I think both pitchers are adequate. This will be the first start for this season for Mile. I believe it's the first start for him. But you've got, decent pitchers, relatively okay price points. The batters, nothing I want to race to get, but I wouldn't shy away from any of them. You were talking about a little hedge going against any Eovaldi. This isn't even a hedge. I'm just going to have a little bit on both sides of the fence because there are only 12 teams in our player pool. The key hitters that you would want to look to, of course, are going to be Anthony Rizzo, probably Chris Bryant are my two favorites from the game, and then it'll be Goldie and Arenado following up. But hey, those are the best power guys on both sides, so nothing shocking by that analysis there. I do see Matt Duffy back in the lineup after getting a few days off on his torrid hot streak that he has. A couple stolen bases and a home run, probably one of 3 home runs he'll hit this year. He's already got one in the bank. What do you want to do with this game? Is there anything you can point to definitively and say, hey, let's take a look at this, or this I feel a little more comfortable about?
Yeah, so Alzolay is my highest owned pitcher today.
Okay.
And the prices on both sides are fine. I think his average range of outcome is going to be satisfactory based on the slate and the competition. Like I can see him being the optimal SP2 very often. And even wouldn't surprise me if he was, a guy that flirted with 20, mid-20 DKP. His ERA is definitely a little bit unlucky. Sierra and his xFIP, Sierra's at 3.27, xFIP 3.29. Their swing and strike rate's over 13%. Like if you just isolate those 3 stats, considering a sub 0.9 whip, like this guy's a good pitcher. He doesn't typically go more than 5-6 innings. I'm willing to take the shot on those stats, putting him in a pitcher-friendly Busch Stadium against the Cardinals lineup that definitely has some professional hitters, but also has some strikeouts. Dylan Carlson at 28. Actually, I think he got scratched. Yeah, he did get scratched. We still have a lot of decent strikeout numbers to attack here. A lot of almost 1 and 3s with Harrison Bader, Justin Williams, guys like that. So Alzolay is going to be one of my highest owned pitchers. Miles Michaelis, somebody that I think is justifiable as a he does probably have enough pitches in his arsenal, or quantity of pitches to throw today in his arsenal to bleed through and get a solid SP2 game. Not excited to play Michaelis. It's only because of position scarcity. In his last minor league start, May 16th, he did go 6 innings, but the whip in all 3 starts for his minor league rehab has been bad. 1.3 or greater, allowing a 300 plus average. So I think if you look at that, it does make the Cubs a little bit more alluring, because if you're going to get beat up by AAA lineups, a good chance you get beat up by a major league lineup. So I'll have both sides of the Michaelis and Cubs situation, but I definitely like Alzolay a lot. He's my highest owned pitcher right now.
And then kind of for the hitters, still focusing on the main power bats that I mentioned, I think is the way to go. You had said that, was it Miller was scratched? Harrison Bader's now batting 5th.
Yeah, it was Dylan Carlson, I think, that got scratched. And
oops, I'm sorry, I had my sheet on the wrong one. Sorry. Miller is with the Phillies and still batting 5th. Sorry, I hadn't scrolled down there. So, but yeah, Bader's batting 5th. Okay. Yeah, again, it's bottom of these lineups, not scary. Top of the lineups, a little bit. The pitchers, both okay. This is just like as about as neutral as you can get. It's just one of those weird matchups, especially when you can compare it to our next game here. We have Tampa Bay in Florida playing the Toronto Blue Jays. They, of course, are in TD Ballpark, which is their minor league and spring training facility, also home of the local high school. Go Falcons. So we have a lofty run total here, 9.5. Yesterday it was 10 or 10.5. We have Shane McClanahan on the mound going against Robbie Ray. I'm a little nervous about pitchers in this particular environment. We do have a favorable wind coming in from left field between 10 and 12 miles an hour. We also have an 80-degree day here. But again, this isn't like a tiny bandbox ballpark, but come on, it's not exactly full major league size, especially when you consider the high school team plays there as well. So hitters for me, yes. The run totals are going to scare some gamers away. I like the strikeout upside of both of these pitchers more than I do for Azalea or for Miles there. So they're going to be in my mix as well. However, I will for sure be making a concerted effort to stack both of these teams. I'm just hoping that if it fails because either A, my guy gets the strikeout, or maybe my guys get the strikeout and get out of the game, and then they just knock crap out of the bullpen. So that's in play as well with these guys. What is your read for this game, Gundacker?
So on these shorter slates that have position scarcity, especially at the pitcher spot, I definitely look for ways to get a little different and where the leverage is. If we look at the top 2 projected owned players on the slate, it's Walker Buehler at 43%, which I've agreed with. And then it's Robbie Ray at 41%. And I have flashbacks to just last night where I thought Glasnow, being a 40% strikeout pitcher, could thrive in this ballpark, and he didn't. So now, fast forward the very next night, Robbie Ray in a similar spot, and 40% of lineups might have a affiliation with Robbie Ray's performance tonight. And I'm wondering, is this the leverage spot? And I think it is, just because of the ballpark. And we know Robbie Ray, with or without, a minor league stadium, is somebody that can give up a high average and a high power levels to righty. So I definitely am meditating on that. Because of that, I'm getting real different, and I had Ray initially capped at like 15%, but because of that ownership, I think I might just get rid of him completely and just die on that hill, right? Be on an island of not having Robbie Ray and just kind of believe in Albert Alzolay. Shane McClanahan, you mentioned his strikeout stuff is really good. I do worry about the leases on somebody like him. He is 7.3 on DK. His last appearance, 75 pitches. The appearance before that, 80 pitches. So at 73, I think if you thought 15 DKP is a range of outcomes, you probably slip him into the pool. But the park's going to be very scary. Even with wind blowing in, it's still probably going to be hot and humid, 80 degrees, a little bit of humidity you're always dealing with down there. So I'm probably leaning towards the bats more so than the pitchers. But understand, everyone watching, I seem to be the anti-Ray. Like, I'm the only guy not on Robbie Ray, it looks like. And if I want to fade Ray, then I probably want to stack some Rays here. Bats that stick out the most: Andy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, Marco Broso, Mike Broso, all guys that can hit lefties with some power. And Mike Zunino is a wild card here. He's one of the league leaders in homers, especially at the catcher position, but he also has an egregiously high strikeout rate. So he's going to swing the bat. If he makes contact, good shot that ball leaves the park. Ugly lineup overall, though. But yeah, 9.5 for Robbie Ray, I think, is the biggest decision that everyone should make on DraftKings. And I think I'm going with no, but I understand yes. Like, it's a tough position.
Yeah, and since I'm going to drop the link here into the YouTube chat, since we do have the free top pitchers tool, this is a good speaking point here. You can see that Robbie Ray, he and Walker Buehler are co-leaders for most likely to be a top 2 pitcher on the slate on DraftKings. They come in at about 1/3 of the time each. After that, it's Adbert. There's too many funny names there that I get stuck in my head. You have Adbert in there at 1 and 4 times. Then you drop down to Ryan Weathers going against Seattle, 1 and 5. Evaldi, 1 and 5. Chris Bassett, 1 and 5. And then it sort of falls off the shelf at that point. So this is one of those where you kind of want to take a peek at it. The next question you have is, where's the popularity? Well, with Ray and Buehler, they're both on about 40% of the DK lineups. And then you say, okay, well, who's got the best bang for their buck? And then Robbie Ray gets the slight edge there because he, of course, has the strikeout upside. For Buehler, the win is actually probably in play today more than you would say for a normal starter, just because there's a pretty good chance that Casper gets lit up and he's cruising through the 5th inning and is the pitcher of record with the lead when he leaves the game. But there's no guarantees. I mean, look at that Dodgers lineup. It's pretty scary when you consider Pujols is probably the 3rd best hitter. I say that lightly. Let me rephrase that. I think Chris Taylor's probably my favorite player on that whole team, and he's not always a full-time player with the Dodgers unless they're dealing with a myriad of injuries like they are right now. So there we are.
Okay, if I can answer the question in chat, Tony
Absolutely.
A asked, "Who is Taylor Walls?" I believe that's going to be a product of that trade they pulled off yesterday with the Brewers. So they need to call. People were looking for Franco. I don't think it's going to be Franco yet, but Walls so far in the minors has looked pretty sharp. He has 49 at bats, batting 327 with 2 homers and 13 walks, which is pretty impressive. Also, does look like he will steal bases if you let him, a 2-2 stolen base to caught stealing ratio. So I definitely think he's worth putting in my back pocket. And some of these younger kids that get called up, either they're nervous or they're hungry to stick around. He knows he's got Franco breathing down his neck. So Walls isn't just some hand-me-down guy because we traded away our starting shortstop. He looks like he's got some talent, and I definitely will have him in my Rays stacks.
Yeah, that was I'm guessing they're playing around with service time and not bringing up
Franco. Yeah,
Franco. That's a mess. That's a shame. I think he's going to be a fun guy to watch hopefully for a lot of years in the league. All right, let's see. 2 more games. This is a much easier go of it than it was this morning when we were talking about all 13 games. So we'll have a little time at the end here. We'll talk a little bit about the Awesemo Hall of Fame. We'll talk some top stacks, top pitchers, all that fun stuff. Some home run calls, a bomb or two maybe detected. We don't always have time for this, but we will on this slate. So we will definitely be taking advantage of that opportunity. The opportunity you guys can take advantage of is to like and subscribe to the channel. That helps us out. And 2, it's a nice thing to do. You want to be nice. It's your old pal here. I don't ask for much as I'm heading to well into midlife now. Come on, I shout at the rain and I ask for likes. And maybe I'll yell at a cloud or two, or there's some kids in the front yard. But other than that, come on, hit that like button.
Hit that like button. I think EMac just froze a little bit. I heard a little line.
I want a chance.
There we go.
Free Awesemo. We're on every. Oh, what happened?
You had matrixed out, but I think you're back there.
Oh, okay. I had a bunch of pop-ups come up on my computer all of a sudden that may have caused some issues. But the Awesemo Podcast Network, if you leave a 5-star review, put your name, your social media contact handle, your Awesemo username. We do a drawing once per week on Friday for a free week of Awesemo premium content for anybody that has left a review. And it's not a one and done. Your review is in that drawing for the next 52 weeks. As many reviews as you leave on the different sites, or as many entries as you get into that drawing. So definitely check that out. Justice Sheffield is a decent pitcher, is where I'm going to go with this. I was not ready. I wrote him up as the pitcher to target on the 2-game late slate. I've changed my tune a little bit, and I'm okay going with the Mariners or targeting him with the Padres. However, we want to note that the Padres are missing a couple key people. It turns out it wasn't just a routine day off for Manny Machado last night. He actually has a sore right shoulder, so they're giving him the day off. And then Trent Grisham is dealing with the sore heel, so he is getting the day off. This moves Tommy Pham from the bottom of the order, where he was sort of languishing to start this season in one of the worst slumps of his career, to batting second. Now we've got Jerks and Pham is at first, Profar is at second, Cronenworth is third, and then Fernando Tatis, Eric Hosmer, Austin Remember Me, Nola. And then it kind of falls off. You got Kim at the hot corner there, and then you got Mateo in the infield / outfield spot there on DK. So I actually like Justice Sheffield. The strikeouts haven't quite materialized where we thought. He's done a pretty good job of limiting power, and he also has gone 5 or 6 innings in every start this year. Those are the solid things I want to look for. The Padres' run total has dropped by over half a run since this line came out and didn't have Machado and Grisham in it. So I'm okay with this. The issue with the Mariners, where you can go back the other way, they have a horrible bullpen. Bottom 3 by most, over the last 3 seasons, the current active crop is a bottom third of the league bullpen. They had to put 4 relievers into the COVID protocol. I haven't seen if I think they're all still going to have to be in it. They were waiting on some additional testing, contact tracing, etc. But they're looking kind of thin here. They gave up 16 16 runs to the Padres last night. This is yet again another mix and match. And then I don't know what to do with Ryan Weathers, because this Mariners lineup, not particularly scary once you get past the Kyle Seager batting fourth.
Yeah, so Weathers is an opener, but he has a little bit more pitches in his tank than your average opener. When 69.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you think he'll go about 60 or 70? I think he closes the third inning or gets through the third inning and potentially into the fourth is my thought.
Yeah, he got through 4 last time. Nice 69 pitches. Might get into the 70s. And then Nelson Lamet, I think, might see some game time here. So it's one of those examples of it's a shallow player pool, and maybe you get a little funky. I don't think I'm getting funky on the main slate, but the Nelson Lamet 8,600 on DraftKings, I would like to see his pitches or his pitch count a little bit higher. Only threw 37 last time out, but that would be a good spot to steal a win if you came in the 4th, 5th, 6th inning and then had like 50 or 60 pitches. But I don't think he's stretched out enough for me to kind of play that role. So I'm kind of staying away from that. Justice Sheffield, former Yankee great. I'm not as trusting him to be a solid guy. 7.7% swinging strike rate. Sierra xFIP, the whip, all really, really high. Yeah, the Padres are going to be without Machado and even Trent Grisham. I know it's lefty, but Justice Sheffield has actually struggled against lefties this year. 351 average allowed. I'm going to attack the Padres. I think the Padres going against the contact pitcher is very intriguing because they still offer some power, but they're also one of the most aggressive teams in the league when it comes to stealing bases. So guys like Tommy Pham in that leadoff spot, 2.1K on FanDuel. If he slips on base, steals a bag, that's halfway there to being a fantastic play at that price point. And then a guy like Tatis, I wish Tatis managerially was batting third. That way you get that guaranteed first inning at bat. They put him in a cleanup spot. A little bit more of an old school thought process, I guess. There, 5.9K is going to be one of my more sought after bats. But I definitely there's nothing that hurts me more than batting fourth instead of third from a fantasy player that I like. But I'm still going to be on the Padre stack as a whole. You mentioned the bullpens, nothing to run from, and I do like some of these Padres against lefties, and I do think even these lefties, Jake Cronenworth and Eric Hosmer, like I said, might take advantage of Justice Sheffield's inability to get lefties out so far this year with that 350 average allowed. So I'm going to have some Padre stacks, a little bit of power and a lot of stolen base potential. And I don't think I'm going to play some Sheffield. The thing I hate about contact pitchers is if like Brad Keller from the Royals, that's an example. If they go through 8 innings with 3 strikeouts, that's elite. But if you let 1 or 2 up, you can't really correct the earned runs with the strikeout to kind of offset it. So I don't like to play contact pitchers if I can help it.
Yeah, those absolutely good points. You can't erase those mistakes with a couple strikeouts like you can with a Robbie Ray. Who he could end up getting 9 strikeouts, giving up 2 2-run shots, and somehow getting the win and still being one of the top pitchers going just 7 innings, right? So that's an excellent point to bring up there on that one. And what do you already have a spot picked out for him in Monument Row there in Yankee Stadium? For
Actually,
did he even make an appearance? I'm looking it up right now. He pitched like 3 times for the Yankees.
Yeah, no, but he was one of those. Yankee fans like the prospect hug and never give up any prospect ever, and he was one of those for a while. And now you see him, what he's doing in Seattle, and you're like, okay, maybe we hung on to him a little too long. We were fine with getting rid of him.
All right, so the final game, we saw some conflicting starting pitchers. It looks like it's going to be Patrick Sandoval for the Angels. That's what is up there on both ESPN now and the MLB starting pitchers page. A couple other sites earlier this morning, I wasn't sure, and some of them had Dylan Bundy in that mix as well. So we're pretty sure it's going to be Sandoval. He's dodgy at best. So going to Oakland, power from the right side. Don't be scared of Matt Olson in the lefty-lefty matchup. He's almost as good against lefties as he is righties, well into the 200s for his isolated power. Chris the Basset Hound has been pretty good at preventing runs. I say that hesitantly. He's another guy with not a lot of strikeouts, but there is no Mike Trout for the next 4 to 6 weeks. This is a watered-down Angels lineup. How are you liking the guys in our penultimate game, or our final game here?
So I might be guilty of just seeing Chris Batts' name and just not, like, historically I wouldn't play him because he used to fall into that contact pitcher category by default. So far this year, swing and strike rate 11.6%. So not elite levels, but definitely better than the 8-9% we're used to. And if you check out, some of his games, he's able to slide through and get you that 20 plus DKP. You mentioned no Mike Trout. Neither one of these teams, I believe, have a confirmed lineup yet. But this would be one of those spots. If this lineup for some reason came out with like no Ohtani, giving him a day off after a high work week. I don't think they'd give him a day off at home if they could help it. But like this Angels lineup is one Ohtani or Rendon or Walsh away from me being like, all right, I'll punt this pitcher against them. Let's go. So I actually might consider some Bassett just because like I think the Angels are worse than the perception, and maybe Bassett's better than the perception, but I don't have high hopes nonetheless. Patrick Sandoval, definitely somebody I'm not going to get to. High Sierra, high XFIP, does have a really good swing and strike rate, but hasn't been able to put it all together, and I think at best he's an opener, and the Angels pitching staff and bullpen, definitely something that I think you can get after. Athletics bats don't really trigger a whole lot of confidence when you roster them, even less so when you can't bank on Mark Canha getting 2 at-bats against Sandoval. It might happen, but this might just be a pure bullpen game. So you might see, let me pull up my bullpen tab here for the Angels. You might see like a Cishek yesterday, Rysdale, Iglesias, Mike Myers through 50 combined pitches. So it might be a spot for like Dylan Peters, maybe Cishek, Claudio, guys like that. There's a couple lefties that look like they could be eligible to make an appearance today. So maybe you do bank on Athletics bats getting 2 or 3 at-bats against a lefty, but it may not be the same lefty.
No, the good call outs there. We're sort of looking at next level. I see Bean Dude. I got to give him the shout out. He made a Max Headroom reference to my technical difficulties there. He says we're probably the only 2 watching that got that joke. I appreciated it. That's all that counts. Me. You know what counts? You guys as well. How are we going to help you out? Well, we're going to help you out with the Awesemo Hall of Fame. So here's an opportunity that you have to get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. Now it's a lot of fun to see your name in lights, but it's even more fun to hear you talked about on shows. So how do you do this? Well, to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, 1, download the Awesemo avatar. That's at awesemo.com/avatar. And you put that on your account. And when you win, take a screenshot. And you don't even have to win. We're saying just got to be top 3. Best thing about being top 3 is it takes a little bit of the margin of error out of things. The only milestone we have, other than you having to tweet at Awesemo HOF on Twitter with the screenshot with your avatar, is there just has to be 5,000 people in the tournament. I didn't say anything about entry fees. You want to do it in the nickel, you want to do it in the dime, you want to do it in the $100, go for it, knock yourself out. But we're giving back to you guys. So we got a couple up here, some fun ones. Saul Goodman, who's a member here, a user here at Awesemo. He floats around in the Slack chat. You guys know him from Twitter. Actually, a very helpful guy in Slack chat. Very generous with his hockey knowledge. He tweets at us and says, "Hey, looks like the 2 best players on DraftKings finished 1-2 in Showdown today." He got second for 20,000. Awesemo Alex Baker himself up there for 50K. The next one here, we've got B. Henry. He's had a few of these that he's sent in. He says, just follow Josh Engelman's advice by playing on DK. Ended up in a tie, but this was my first time taking down a slate. That's pretty cool. Again, doesn't have to be the gigantic big bucks amounts here. You got Hayden Brown. He's coming in here. He had the Thursday MLB pinch hit over there on FanDuel. You can do this on any of the sites. It doesn't matter, but Yahoo, FanDuel, DraftKings, usually the ones with 5,000 or more. So he's got a nice little hit there. And then we've got Miracle on Ice. Nick sends in a shot of Kurt Russell there playing the coach. Turned $10 into $300. That's a nice little ROI. Again, not breaking the bank, but having some fun. Finally, we round it out here with let's see. This is from Chris Giordani, who, by the way, is an Awesemo contributor here, and he does the Spotlight Pitchers article and amongst some other contributions behind the scenes. But he had a nice showing here. So that's the Awesemo Hall of Fame. You get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. You follow the rules there. Definitely a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I get to send out a screenshot at some point too. It'll be from the Quarter Arcade or the $1.20 Max or something along those lines, but it'll be a nice little ROI, and we will all chuckle when that happens. Go ahead.
I would say those are the DFS grinders out there balling on a budget. The piggy bank and Quarter Arcade harder to win than some of these big ones, man. You're going against 200,000 entries, so I think that's a more proud feather in a cap for some of my friends in the DFS space than the 100K is nice, but $500 after beating 200,000 people, that means more.
It is an accomplishment. It is an accomplishment. All right, who are your top 3 stacks of the night?
The Athletics lineup just came out. It involves Aramis Garcia at catcher. Interesting. So top stacks, I think for me, I like Boston. We mentioned Tampa as a fun leverage because of Robbie Ray's ownership projection, and then I'm torn between Oakland and Toronto. Now that Oakland's lineup is out, I can digest it a little bit better. I love Laureano batting third.
That stands out. You got Piscotty towards the bottom. He's nails against lefties, only 2,500 on DK. Yeah, he'll probably just get 4 at bats, but at 2,500 gives you a ton of flexibility and a good spot. Those are the names that when Chad Pinder, always a pinch hit risk, but 2,400. That could help you get Bueller, your main stack that you want, and then a air quote sub Oakland stack feels like an Awesemo Hall of Fame nominee right there, Gundacker.
Oh, the segue, man. You've been doing this for a while. I love it. No, so I guess we got to refresh on some of these ownership numbers. So one of the things we were looking at earlier is a little bit of the leverage opportunity between the Boston top stack percentage versus the ownership. Looks like the ownership has risen on the Red Sox a little bit, so it's a little bit more of an even playing field. But it looks like in terms of teams being overowned or underowned, the only team projecting to be overowned is the Phillies. So you can kind of just be flat with the field and not have to dedicate too much of your equity, meaning, I don't have to go 25% of a stack just to feel like I'm leveraged the field. I think everything's pretty balanced. So I think pitching is the keys to this one. And for me, I thought it earlier, and I probably stand strong on it. Robbie Ray is the make or break of this slate, 40% owned. I think he's the most volatile. It looks like he's dropped down to 33%. I think he's the most volatile guy on the slate. And if he goes off, you have him. Cool. If you're on the other side like me, I think you're vibing out a little harder. It looks like Adbert Alzolay. Did I do that? Up to 32%? Come on, man. I thought I was gonna get him as my ace in the hole.
Yeah, that was one of the bigger jumps there. Ryan Weathers popped up a little bit more, but again, we don't necessarily need a lot of the savings tonight, so he loses a little bit of his utility. But yeah, this is going to be a fun one tonight for sure. Let's see, looking at a quick little look behind the top stacks percentages. You've got Boston 1, Tampa Bay 2, Oakland 3, Toronto 4, and then a tick down to Chicago, and then that Sunday lineup for the Dodgers on a Saturday night. And then let's see, home run calls. Home run calls. Who do you got? The bomb detector. Who do you have? Terry's in with Matt Olson is his call.
I like that call. Actually, Matt Olson, number 2 on my bomb detector, but probably a better sample size play. I liked him the other night, but Nottingham against lefties has been really, really fun so far, and he's got my highest score, but the sample size grade isn't great, but Matt Olson's right up there as well. And then I'm looking at guys like Randy Arozarena, Mike Brosseau, and I do want to preface this, my bomb detector is based on sample size on hitters and pitchers. And I got nothing on Scott Casper, so I only go the last 2 years. So I don't want to make anyone think like Chris Taylor, Turner, those guys can't go Yabo on Casper. Absolutely can. I just don't have sample size to that the algorithm can crunch. So yeah, but Olsen, I'm in agreement with that. I like that a lot.
All right, I just want to check and make sure. Yes, indeed. I am going to go with Laureano, not only for a home run, but he's going to tack on a stolen base as well. He does have 8 on the season for that one. I don't think he's stolen one in a little while, but he was jumped out to a nice lead there, was trailing or up amongst the leaders, trailing Whit Merrifield. But I'm going to go for the double, and I do really like that Piscotty home run for a cheapie or a Pinder. So I'm kind of leaning towards Oakland. I don't think we have to go overboard there, as I mentioned with their pricing. They do make for a fine secondary stack that is going to allow us to get the pitching we want, as well as whatever main stack we want. So that will be quite helpful. Following us, starting in 10 minutes here, we have NBA Live Before Lock. You're going to get Etan and T. McBee. Terry McBride is going to be breaking down the 2-game NBA slate that goes off at 8 o'clock tonight. We also have everything tomorrow. We're running it back once again. We're going to be starting out at 10 a.m. with the MLB Live Before Lock. That will be myself and Max. 11, we got the deeper dive. That'll be Etan and Rinpack going over NBA. And then at noon, you're going to have the Live Before Lock NBA, Jason Floyd, Eric Lindquist. 1:30 is going to be NASCAR Live Before Lock. Jason Floyd doing double duty there. He's going to be on with Phil. And then 6 o'clock, Terry and Etan back again, breaking down the late slate NBA action. It's a great time to be alive with DFS. Definitely check out all the offerings we have here at Awesemo. With that, you can follow Awesemo on Twitter at Awesemo_COM. I am at EMac DFS, and it is at Gundacker. With that, gamers, good luck. Shout out to Tyler, best producer in the world.